My guests this morning are seated, and I introduce them. On Newsfile this morning, Dr. Angela Dwamena-Boagyeh is a lawyer and executive director, the ARC Foundation, Ghana. Of course, she is a gender advocate and rights advocate that many of us know. Thank you very much for coming to Newsfile this morning.
Nice to see you. Good
to have you. Also here in the studio is Suleiman Ibrahima. He is the Executive Director, Media Foundation for West Africa. Suleiman, good morning, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I must say congratulations on the recent news by the Eisenhower Fellowship that you have been chosen as a fellow for the Eisenhower Global Fellow 2019. Congratulations. Yeah, I've been reading about them. It's quite a prestigious entity. Right. Also here in the studio this morning is Kofi Bento. He's a lawyer and Senior Vice President of Imani Africa. He knows why I'm laughing whilst I introduce him. I have not said anywhere that he's a rebel. Also here in the studio is Dr. Eric Odro Osai. He's a lawyer and governance expert. Thank you very much for joining us.
A pleasure.
Okay, so let's get to the Emile Short Commission and listen to this 5-minute piece put together in an editorial by Araba Kumsin of the JoyNews. And then we'll hear Ambrose Dery, we'll hear Brian Champong, we'll hear Kandapa, and also DCOP George Mensah of the police, as well as Jean Mensah. We want to listen to all of these, put together their views, and then come to the studio and analyze some of the claims, because by the time you are done listening to them, you may discover that there are contradictions and that some things may not add up.
Election, but you'll agree that the details emerging are very revealing and yes, also confusing, leaving us with more questions than answers. Here at JoyNews, we have some questions, but first, watch this.
My Lord, ideally, the district commander in whose jurisdiction the by-election is supposed to be held should be part of the exercise. But in my case, that they had a call around 9 o'clock from my original commander who didn't make me part of the exercise. That he has heard that some shootings are going on around Bawaleshi, closer to the NDC parliamentary candidate's house. So I should go and assist.
So it begs the question, why didn't the Bawaleshi Police or East Legon Police Command, located within the Ayawaso West constituency, play an active role in election security? National Security Minister Albert Kandapa said 6 warning shots were fired.
Later, they also said they heard gunshots coming from within the compound of the house. Our boys then gave some 6 warning shots.
But a video obtained by JoyNews tells a whole different story. That's obviously more than 6. Now, even more confusing is this account from the East Legon Police Commander. Watch.
There were many, my lord.
Many.
If I'm not mistaken, They were holding them. If I'm not mistaken, it will be over 20 per what I saw.
Okay. And were you able to find out the source of these empty shells? Who had, fired these gunshots? The empty shells that you saw, were you able to detect?
I inquired, but the information they gave me was that they were fired by the task force team that came there.
So how many shots were fired? Let's come to the controversy over those who sustained gunshot wounds. You recall, Mr. Kandapar told the commission that no one was injured as a result of the gunshots fired by his men.
Our boys then gave some 6 warning shots, which they tell me did not hit anybody. But obviously, I await the end of the investigations to find out exactly what happened and how many shots they fired and whether it did hit somebody.
But we have videos of some injured people.
Shit. Oh, Charlie! The man is shot. Boss, wait. Boss, wait. Oh, Charlie, wait, I'm on live. I'm on YouTube live.
So who shot and injured the people in the video? But the bigger question on our minds is what actually sparked this violence? Here is Minister of State for National Security, Brian Achampong.
The surveillance was still going on. They heard some gunshots coming out of this house. They approached the house. At that point, they were being pelted with stones. They fired warning shots from outside the building, and then all the people in the building inside and outside started running away. Now, in the process, they arrested 9 people, and in the process of arrest, some minimal force in their language was applied.
But the East Legon Police Commander, George Asari, told the commission a different story.
We're there, and then the security men approached them. That why have you parked these motorbikes here? And one of the security men wanted to take one of the motorbikes, and the people said no. And that was what degenerated into all those.
Same question, different responses.
We arrested 9 people in that house.
Okay.
In a home that is suspected to be the home of a candidate. We arrested 9 people. 6 of them, in an attempt to resist arrest, were injured.
Okay.
They were all sent to the East Legon police station.
That's right.
Those that were injured were given medical forms to report to the police station. And we're talking about minor injuries. We have all the images.
There was peace in the polling stations.
So, if I get you right, you are putting on record that as far as security is concerned, the Ayawaso West Wogon constituency by-election was peaceful.
As far as the polling stations are concerned, we are well aware that, there was violence erupted in the house of, the candidate of the National Democratic Congress. But I'm saying that as far as the polling stations, the 137 polling stations are concerned, there was no violence there, and there was peace in the 137 polling stations. Of course, there was violence some 140 meters away from the polling station, and the gunshots could be heard in the neighborhood. including the area where, including the school. But what is interesting is that people around the area ran into the school where the polling station was, the cordoned area, to take cover. You know, so I'm sure that it was some sort of a peace haven for them. They ran there to take cover, although you could hear the gunshot wounds. But people ran there to take cover. And our presiding officer had to protect the environment and their equipment and materials. So it brought polling to a halt for about 45 minutes. But thereafter, the voting continued.
Welcome back. So I'd like to begin with Gloria. Angela, sorry. There have been times I have swapped your name with Gloria because you used to work with her so closely.
Yeah, not the only person.
All right. So for those who may have thought that this commission was going to be the usual thing and that nothing may come out of it, tell us your first impressions. It does look very obvious that this is a very serious commission. You watch Professor Mensa Bonsu ask the questions. She lays the best of foundations and makes follow-ups that make people sit up.
Yes, I mean, obviously, this is a serious commission, not only because of the caliber of the people who are there, but the kind of questioning that is coming from the commissioners. And I think that it's worth paying attention to very, very closely. I'm happy that it's being publicized. I'm happy that Ghanaians are really listening to the questions and also listening to the answers that are coming from this commission. My hope is that it would serve as not only a learning for the whole country, but it will also serve to make us understand that we don't want to keep on having commissions like these around issues such as elections violence. For me, the contradictions are also very interesting. It says a lot. There are many, many lessons in it for this country. The first being the huge question around coordination, which is coming up now and again. I've been asking myself questions like, okay, what is the real mandate of the Minister for State, the Minister of State for National Security? What is his mandate? Because there is a National Security Council established by the Constitution. We know those who are supposed to be in the membership of that Constitution. And usually when the Constitution names specific institutions and their heads as members of a particular commission or a particular group of people, there is an understanding that they're supposed to be coordinating. It's not just for the fun of it. It's not just for the beauty of it. And so if a Minister of State for National Security comes in, what exactly is he or she supposed to be doing vis-a-vis a National Security Council as established by the Constitution? So that's one question that's been engaging my mind. Secondly, if we know that the Constitution actually...
Mr. Kandapa suggested that he's like a deputy to him.
Well, it must be clear. What does that mean exactly? Minister of State for National Security, who is a deputy to the Minister of...
National Security.
Yes, but I mean, what does that mean exactly? There is something that's off, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of arrangements and in terms of his capacity to even take responsibility for the things that have happened. So clearly, the issue of who is leading, who is in charge, who coordinated what, is still outstanding. And I'm thinking that if there's anything that this commission should be able to do for us, again, looking at the caliber of people who are on this commission, they must clearly be able to lay down some of the kinds of recommendations that would inure to the benefit of this country in terms of coordination. Look, if the interesting thing about the symbol of the NDC is the umbrella and that thing that's at the top of it, you know, you remove that thing, the umbrella will fall apart.
Okay.
That's, yes. So that is it. who coordinates what, especially in an important matter as security of the state? And obviously, the answers that are coming are showing us that there are huge gaps in coordination. I think that we should continue to listen very closely to this commission. We should continue to pay attention to it. We should give it the credibility that it deserves. I know that people have raised issues about what it can do and what it cannot do. Right. I'm saying let's still give it a chance. Somebody says this is God sent. I believe that this is God sent because it gives us an inkling into what it is that may have happened on our blind side. When
we'll get to some of the specific details. Sule, what do you have to say?
Well, I think that it's been quite revealing so far. And I believe that from what has happened in the last 2 days, if anyone had doubts about the usefulness and the purposefulness of the commission, I believe such people may want to rethink and change their mind. I also believe that from what has happened over the last 2 days, if there was anybody who thought that as a country we were that secure and that our national security architecture is in place and functioning, I believe that such people would also begin to rethink and perhaps change their mind to the reality that based on what we've heard, based on what we've seen in the last 2 days, our national security architecture is not as it has to be. And Angela talks about coordination. And we have a case where now the police are clearly distancing themselves from what happened. Ambrose Dery, who heads the Interior Ministry and therefore in charge of the police, is telling the same story or told the same story as the police have re-echoed. Then we have the 2 national security ministers. And of course, I believe that the Constitution talks about a minister of state, and there is nowhere I have seen that to be interpreted to mean a deputy minister. So it's quite confusing, and perhaps it's also part of the confusion that we are having. Now, if there's also a fundamental question that must also go to the police, because we have DCOP Mensah, for example, saying that, I don't know the marksmen. I don't know where they came from. The car they used doesn't belong to, my command. The police hasn't used any car like that before. So the question that I ask is, okay.
Despite the fact that the inscription on the vehicle is police vehicle.
Yes. So the fundamental question I ask is, so if these were terrorists from Togo and just maneuvered to brand a car with police inscription, with police logo, is it enough for the police to just tell us that we don't know them and we don't know the car and they just did what they did and left? Because if the police indeed didn't know them, they are not aware of their car, they are not aware of the operation and so on, how come these men, none of them was arrested? Or even the police, how come the police did not engage them? I believe that would have been a fundamental thing that, the police clashed with folks who are supposed to be from national security. And then now the police would have been saying, look, we are in charge of internal security. We never knew about this man. We don't know about the car. And therefore, when we got there and saw what they were doing, we thought they could be, some arsonists or terrorists, and we had to engage them based on our roles and responsibilities as security men of the state. But that didn't happen. And given that that didn't happen, then how do we also believe the account of the police that we didn't know anything about?
Right. We'll isolate some of the issues and deal with them. Yes, Dr. Drosai.
Thank you very much, and let me say good morning to our viewers and listeners. It's rather interesting because I see a big coordination gap in the whole security arrangement. And I want to agree with
1, 2, 3.
Yes, there's a coordination challenge because the very moment we are
coordination gap.
With the very moment we appointed a national security minister, and when you look at the Constitution and the Securities and Intelligence Act, we have a national security coordinator.
Yes, we do.
With functions specifically provided for. And then we also need a national security advisor. Question then is, where do we have the role clarity? Because if you talk about national security, we have somebody who should coordinate. And security is made up of 2 parts, the intelligence part and the physical security part. If you refuse to allow the national security coordinator to perform his functions, you create a big coordination gap. And that was what happened, in my view. And I think it is about time we resolve that issue. And it would have to be resolved
seen to be functioning a lot better now that they are in a greater number, as in those who are heading the security apparatus? So in the national security alone, you count how many? About 4.
We have a security minister,
right.
We have a national security coordinator, we have a national security advisor. And then when you come to the intelligence system too?
No, we have 2 ministers.
2 ministers,
yes, so 4.
Okay, so
right.
4. Now, you see, if you have this 4 there, it creates problems for us.
Why?
You see, security, there's a difference between security and intelligence, and that's what we are refusing to appreciate. For intelligence, you gather the intelligence, feed it with the security, and they move. As soon as there is that disconnect, security will move without intelligence. And when they move without intelligence, they go and mess up. And that's where the problem is. Okay. So I thought that on this occasion, they moved without intelligence. That is if they were operating as national security operatives.
What is your basis? What is your basis of confirming the views of my 2 guests that there is a huge gap as far as coordination is concerned? What's your basis listening to them at the commission?
Okay, 1, you listen to the East Legon police commander and he gave a different impression. You listen to the national security minister, his views and impressions are different. We are also hearing, in fact, I listened to Jean, and Jean's also has had a different impression. You see, if we have elections, by-elections for that matter, and we know that there should be an election security task force, it's a simple matter where if we really have good security coordination, each and every member should know what was going to happen on the day. So as soon as the so-called National Security Task Force got there, the people on the ground, the immigration officers, the policemen should know what they were coming to do. In fact, before they set off from where they were coming from, intelligence should have hit the ground that this team were coming. They were coming because of A, B, C, D. When they come, help them to execute. That is how it should have worked. But from the way things went, I want to believe that there was a big and huge coordination gap. So they got there, and the officers on the ground did not even know what they were coming to do. So they couldn't aid them. Therefore, there were excesses. So somebody, of course, must take the blame.
Okay, just hold it there briefly. And Kofi Bento, okay, so people say you have problem with the way we are even seeking to tool our police and security. Have you received some confirmation from this commission hearing so far that it's really the case that things are falling apart?
Yes, and Samson, just to nail that point, look, I made my notes before everybody went around, and I just want to nail the point. None of us is specifically security trained or expert, but we are all identifying, and this is what I wrote. I detect internal police dysfunction. You saw the East Legon man talking, and the others who came, that's one. And then I said, there is also a breakdown of the command and control chain. This is what I detect. No wild security experience, just common sense and observation. We are making this point, all of us. Then I've written something say that command and control should never be broken, because if you do that, then you have what he's talking about. Let me say it in ordinary terms, what it means. If you are going in a situation like this, everybody must know what everybody is doing. Okay? We know it is never legal for anybody to be maxed, except that person is under a very serious, clear command and control arrangement in very limited situations where there can be no ambiguity. Why? Why? Because, just like you said, tomorrow, it can be Flagstaff House, it can be Jubilee House, it can be Parliament House, it can be any by-election. And then somebody brands any pickup, SWAT, and then masked men just arrive there. Because of what has happened, we would all assume they are coming from the national security system. They will kill everybody and drive away, and nobody will touch them. This is where the problem is. When you don't have this coherent command and control arrangement, and you have situations like this, and people go unchallenged, we could easily create that gap where terrorists, ordinary people, butchers, criminals can just do us a lot of harm. Because here you have these people that came out and they were not questioned. One of the things I wrote is that there is clearly a lack of responsibility for security resources What I mean is, the people who have been given security resources, guns, vehicles, and personnel, they have to hold them and never release them unless they are in control of what they are going to do. You have a situation where some people were determined to be police. Some said they came from national security. We don't know who was commanding and controlling them. And the police people are saying, yes, some of them are police, but they were not under their command. Who was commanding these people?
But is it not difficult that you had an expectation that the police, as in ordinary security officers around the place, would have questioned these people? Last week, you know, I hosted, among other security experts, Colonel Festus Abuaji, and he said the problem, part of the problem, is that we live in a country where over time we have been creating this special force or regiment of the security forces, treating them well, giving them all the best by way of salaries and also equipment. And they feel superior to the regular force, yes, or the regular service. And they too, you know, because of that tension, friction, don't want to, you know, step up and question them.
What you said,
so you can't have that.
It's what you said right now. The first sentence, shouldn't the police have questioned them? It's at the heart of the whole thing. We, the citizens of this country, are saying it is in our superior, supreme security interest that our policemen, and in every civilian situation, it is the police, not the army.
Okay.
That holds sway. Should have questioned these people. We are saying this because tomorrow, if anybody, and in the law says that if a policeman sees anybody and believes that that person has a chance or suspects that the person may want to commit a crime, he can apprehend and question the person. Tomorrow, please question them. This arrangement that you talk about, you know, the private armies, the pseudo armies, the separate systems which are better resourced, these are the ones that actually undermine national security. Because usually their fealty or their loyalty is to sections or persons, not the state.
Okay, but this thing you talk about the police's power to question anybody and to unreasonable suspicion arrest, the same is extended to the ordinary citizen.
Yes, that's the side effect.
To do and to effect citizens' arrest, but the rule is that immediately surrender to the nearest police station or the police by you.
Yes.
So why is it that the citizens cannot also play that role?
A number of reasons. One, first thing is what I said, that we've created a situation where when we see some of these characters, we assume that they are part of the regular security system. That's dangerous.
Or you may be afraid to even question.
The next thing is they are armed. They are armed. Okay, but look, Samson, let's say this, and again I say, we are citizens here. Okay, when you see some of these things, they are a clear and present threat to you and the society. Please, we are not asking for violence or anything, but organize around them and contain them. Because of what I'm saying. Look.
What do you mean by that? Organize around them and contain them. Did you see these men?
Yes.
I just said that they are armed and
fully armed. You can't identify anybody. And you organize around them.
Organize around them and contain them includes call the police, alert people in the community that you have a pickup full of masked men around. Organize and contain them. I didn't say attack them or anything. Some say we are all at risk. We are all at risk.
So let's get to some of the details. Let's isolate some of the issues. But the two of you, I didn't have you comment about the commission itself. So, promising from what you have seen from the start? Yes, Doc.
I think it's good. They've started well, and sitting in the open is very good because it gives people the opportunity to understand issues before the commission even comes up with their report. So I think it's good. They should continue like that. They should encourage people to come out with the truth, and we want to use this commission to resolve a number of issues.
Okay, it says encourage people to come out with the truth. Yes. When they make you take the oath, an interesting thing I find about it is that the lady who administers the oath, when she's done, she lets you know the consequences of the oath you are taking. We are not told this in court, but she tells you, once you have taken this oath, know that if you do not tell the truth, you are subject to punishment.
Very good.
Then they have a lawyer who takes over, you know, begins as if he was cross-examining, you know, people, and then the commissioners also come in.
So, Hamson, in fact, the commission is one of the motivations why I came here today.
Okay.
To just say thank you, Prof. Thank you, Mr. Short. Thank you, Kofi Abuchi. And thanks to the president for doing this. Why? Some of us, you know, people come to us, and people have walked to me, and they've expressed grave concern. And you know where it drives from? One, everybody knows, or people suspect that this is some sort of party-organized security breach. Nobody really knows exactly what the truth is.
Right.
Then the disappointment comes from a certain view that nobody will do nothing. This commission, as far as I'm concerned, is a resurrection of the faith of our people in the state. Is that serious?
Okay.
And for me, therefore, they represent for us the fact that we are not going down the abyss.
All right.
And that democracy fights back. It gets to a point where the state can organize itself, even if we can't trust our politicians or, you know, proper officials to act, investigate, we will find people like Prof. Emile Short and co. So the commission
back to
is a restoration of our faith in the state.
Back to Angela, and this is where people have difficulties. The Ambrose Dery says, we don't know about this vehicle. In fact, we don't know about the people you are talking about. Then Kandapa also comes in and says there were 6 shots, about 6 shots or so, and that nobody was harmed. Then Professor Mensah Bonsu probes him, where you see him actually beginning to sit up and begins to hesitate in giving his answers, to think more clearly as to what to say. Did you conduct, have you had some of the pellets? Have you conducted any, what did she say, ballistic, whatever, to determine that what your people shot did not hurt anybody? Those who suffered gunshot wounds, have you gotten some of the pellets from them to now be able to make this categorical statement that they shot about 6 and nobody was harmed? How do you put all of that together with the police officer also coming in and giving a completely different story as to what sparked the problem? These people say, we had intelligence and then we moved in. According to Kandapa, according to Brian Champong. Then this police officer, whose area this place is, he is the one supposed to be in command of this area. He's sidelined. He comes to say, when the problem happened, I was called to go to the front. When I got there and interviewed the people, what they tell me is that people tried to take away their motorbike. And they said, we'll not allow you to take the motorbike. And that began the disturbances. So putting all of this together, 6 shots, JoyNews has demonstrated how many shots? Over a dozen. Kandapa says nobody was hurt by a gunshot. We know that people were injured. We also know after the event, Maxwell Agbagba went there from JoyNews and brought us a footage of bullets, marks on buildings and vehicles. What do we make of all of this?
Well, we've seen enough of the footage to know that definitely this is not 6 shots, and even if you listen closely to the sound of it, it appears to have been coming around the same region. So we are not sure about this thing, people shooting on the inside, people shooting on the outside, and all of that. One of the things that comes to me is this, that we seem to have been pulverized after the incident. So much so that some of the basic investigative things that should have happened in terms of, who is collecting the bullets, who is doing the forensics, who is matching what to what, the numbers of people who were there, there seems to have been, either because those in charge were themselves shocked by it, or the people were sent for a different reason and went there and did something differently, or that, we thought that, okay, somewhere along the line, we'll try and resolve it so we don't have to do all of these things. But these are basics in investigations, in policing that should have happened. And again, if the command structure was there, according to our national security system, there could have been instructions as to what to look out for almost immediately. I found it interesting, for example, that Mr. Kandapa, who is a very knowledgeable person and all of that, at some time of the interview kept referring to the CDD report about political thuggery or vigilantism, whichever word we want to use. You know, I found it interesting in the sense that I was thinking that it should be the other way around. You know, he should be giving us more insight into the kind of movements around these issues more than what a CDD report would give to us. You know, and so we are picking up all of these things to say, what are we going to learn out of this experience? If the police themselves didn't know what to do, immediately it happened. If the National Security Command didn't know what to do after the incident, then where are we headed? We thank God for the commission, but it doesn't take away the fact that we should do serious investigative work. We must prove that as a country we are on top of the game when it comes to serious investigative work. And if the police was allowed to work, I know they can do this. I really know they can do this. With my experience at the Attorney General's Department and some of the cases that we had to deal with and so on and so forth, I mean, they can do it. I have that confidence in our police. If only we would give them the wherewithal, the independence to do their work. So this seemingly pulverized state of the nation immediately after the incident until we see action with this commission, I mean, it's something that we need to be thinking about very closely. You referred to last week's Newsfile with Festus Abuaje and the rest of them. You know, some of these side security arrangements, some of them that we know about are actually under command and control. You know, they may be called buffaloes, they may be called whatever, but they are clearly under command and control. That's a bit different from those that spring up from what we are seeing from our political activities and so on, and later on are incorporated into some systems because we are looking for a place to put them. I mean, I clearly heard one of the people who was doing damage say, this, wait until, I'm just paraphrasing, this is like, wait until 2020 happens. What did that mean? What did that mean? Where is this person coming from? Will a regular police person say a thing like this? Those are some of the questions that should engage our minds. Okay, so I think there's a lot to say regarding this incident.
Okay, so Sule, how do you also analyze, you know, same issues that I'm trying to isolate, and there are too many, so it even becomes difficult to tell, you know, what exactly is going on. But when Kandapa is emphatic in saying that the masked men didn't shoot at anyone, they had no one, then Brian Champong comes to say, when they try to do their job, there was some resistance. They arrested some 9 people, and there was some resistance. In the event of the resistance, they exercise reasonable force. Now, he told me on this show 2 days or so after the event that in the midst of the resistance, some of them got injured. Midst of resistance, got injured. We know what the injuries are. So can you process what is going on clearly?
Well, Samson, I think for me there are 2 things. One is that either the national security folks who have so far appeared, and I'm talking about national security, so I'm just isolating the police for now.
Okay.
It's either they are trying to cover up something, which could include the fact that the folks who went there did actually go there for purposes of electoral disturbances or causing confusion in the elections. Because remember that so far, both Kandapaa, Brian Champong have said that the people did not go there for anything related to the elections. And that they went in there because there was some intelligence that some weapons were being stockpiled in a particular house. If you take that to be true, then your only conclusion could be that, okay, this thing happened at a time when elections were happening in that constituency, and therefore it was a matter of coincidence. And so then you would ask, if these people knew that elections are happening there, but at the same time, because of this intelligence, they needed to go in there, what precautionary measures were taken so that nobody would misconstrue what is happening to be an act of vigilantism, and so on and so forth? So one, for me, it's either they are trying to cover up for this group that was dispatched there for purposes of maybe causing some confusion around the electoral process. And of course, of course, people would criticize this whole vigilantism thing and so on and so forth. And therefore, they tried to create an excuse to say, you know, there was this issue about weapons and so on and so forth. That is one. And if that is the case, in the process of trying to cover up, they are extremely overexposing their incompetence or whatever it is. That is one. The other point is, if there is no attempt to cover up, then indeed they are demonstrating to us that Ghana is not safe. Because if this is the nature of our security architecture, and this is how a security operation would be undertaken, should there be intelligence that there is, arms being stockpiled in a particular house, and this is how they would do it, and even in the end, not discover anything, not get anything, not put the house under, whatever it is, barricade, so it's a security zone until investigations are done. We don't have that. Then, as I said before, so is it what would happen? And I have heard on several occasions the police saying we are doing anti-terror, training. National security talking about terrorism is, going around in our region, and therefore we need to beef up our security and so on and so forth. So if tomorrow we hear there is something happening in Dakuman right now, is this how it is going to be done? That the police command will not be aware? They will go in with a vehicle branded as a police vehicle and go in there, cause confusion, shoot people, and so on and so forth. Now, Kandapaa says, our men fired 6 shots, warning shots. Well, granted that is true. I should believe that as National Security Minister, by now it should have then been established where did the additional shots come from. Because I've heard, I don't know whether it's Brian Champong or someone else say that, when they got in there were shots from within the house. So people had weapons in the house and were shooting from within the house. So where are those people? Where are the guns? Where did they get them from? And so on and so forth. And I was quite also extremely disappointed because many of the questions that were being posed, Khan would suggest as though he is not on top of the issue and it is somebody else who would know. Because, this is the commander who would know about this. This is not an incident that happened yesterday or the day of the commission's sitting. More than a week. I think it's 14 days or so, 2 weeks. And the National Security Minister is still saying, well, I don't have an idea. You need to talk to the operational commander and so on. But I think, as colleagues have said here, it is perhaps the numbers that is also causing the confusion. So we have a National Security Advisor, National Security Coordinator, National Security Minister, Minister of State in charge of National Security. And then they are
all in one building.
Yes, and then there are all manner of commanders, around. But I believe that in terms of internal security, nothing like this would have happened without the IGP being aware. If indeed it was about weapons being stockpiled in a particular house, and they needed
and again, Brian Champong told Newsfile that they had the intelligence long before the elections. weeks, or he said about a month, even before the elections. So I found Professor Mensah Bonsu's probing quite significant, where she asked the question, so what was the outcome of this job you went to execute?
Did you follow through?
On the show, Brian had said even the day after the elections, his men went back to try to sort of finish our bet. Still, there's no result. Once again, I ask on that day, is this a believable narrative?
Well, just to conclude, Samson, I think that we need to also give the process the benefit of the doubt, so that we are not seen to be drawing conclusions and pronouncing people incompetent or guilty and so on and so forth.
It's an independent commission.
Yes.
They would make their conclusions irrespective of what you have to say.
Exactly. But as I said, for me, and Kofi also hinted on that point, that perhaps this is God sent. Look, 2 weeks before this sitting, a very respected senior citizen called me and said, he told me that he's called other people. And his concern is about this political vigilantism that appears to be going on. And it's as if the two main parties, the MPP says we have to build them, the NDC says we have to build them, the police appears helpless, and nothing is happening. And his point was, do I know any other people that I can recommend who may buy into an idea of senior citizens taking up this matter to see what can be done, because we are really treading a very dangerous path.
Okay.
You know,
So
NCC, I think that
the NCC says is doing a huge project in this area. So let's hope that they can give us some very good results. The NCC boss, Josephine Nkrumah, was on this show. She, Clara Berry, IDEX, Professor Emmanuel Akwete, and who was the next person, all of them agreed that this was a botched operation and it needs to be looked at again.
You see, again, we need to nail something based on what has been said right now. Whatever they say, and me, I'm looking at our security as citizens and this whole architecture. This has shown our national intelligence system, by their own actions and utterances, they've exposed extreme ineffectiveness and a lack of coherence. Okay, when all this is done, look, I think...
1 minute. A lack of coherence,
yes.
A couple of seconds. There are those who say we should be happy that these are men who are honest and want to be honest. So they don't meet together, together with their lawyers, and rehearse and coordinate what they have to say.
Well,
so they come and speak independent of the other.
I doubt if they didn't coordinate.
We should be happy about that.
I doubt if they didn't coordinate. I saw a few things. But look, I know Honorable Kandapa, a very fine gentleman, my uncle, I respect him any day. Brian Achampong looks like a nice guy and everything. But I'm telling you, we have this whole load of people, and I'm saying that they should constitute what is called our national intelligence system. That system today has been exposed to be ineffective and incapable of doing its job. Look at what happened. And we are seeing that the center is not holding.
How can you be making such a conclusion on only one occasion?
No. So hold on. There's another occasion I can tell you about. You see the fires that were burnt over the capital, Salaga. Okay. Samson, me, and other people who were near some of the conversations around this capital, we knew a number of things. One, nobody cares about regions. Everybody cares about the capital. Two, I've been in different kinds of meetings where people were thinking, I'm going to call this, We knew that in every region there were 2 or 3 places where they are likely to be fighting over the capitals. And we knew that if it went here, these people are going to react. Where is national intelligence?
The next day, next day when it was announced for the BA areas, there was protection.
How many people did not? Yes. Yeah. So where is national intelligence? What is their job? Why do we have a situation where if you can't protect anything, public, facilities were burnt down? The report I got was that police goes there and then they retreat. Yes. Fire service goes there, and where is national intelligence?
The police have made a confession that the people involved were politically connected.
Exactly.
And you can deal with them.
So I'm making a point, and I'm not making it in attacking anybody. It's not ad hominem. Again, I'm thinking about the bigger issue, that this exposes our national intelligence and security system. That's what you were saying.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that let's nail it, because you see, when all this is said and done, and I thank God for the commission, we need to go back and ask ourselves, how safe are we in this arrangement? That is really what we should take out of all of this. There is a huge situation, maybe it's God sent.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just scary that, look, if really people had just walked in and they were masked, they would have just massacred people. I don't want to give all kinds of, you know, scenarios where all these things could have happened, because you don't want to create panic. But we need to relook our national security
arrangement. That's a scary example you gave about similar people dressing in like manner and coming into the country, even if they are not Ghanaians, and people watching on, and things could happen.
And they will brand a motorcycle and they will go weave through our traffic, because anybody does that. They are going to go and be at Accra or be at Parliament House. Nobody will question them.
But
this is the problem.
The contradiction is that it's not as though we can't handle our intelligence.
We have emasculated our regular services.
Exactly. It is because we are playing political games.
Exactly, and that for me,
that can just weave through it and cause trouble.
It's a cover-up, and that is what my belief is, because I don't think that if these guys were to drive in from a flower and storm
nobody will stop them.
Anywhere, this is how the response would have been.
Nobody will stop them.
You know, so yes, as I said, if it is not a cover-up, as I believe that they are trying to do, then the conclusion is absolutely that Ghana is not safe. If this is
now, Doc, what do you make of this? Is it really about a cover-up or not? As we speak, how long after the event?
Still don't have answers.
We understand the IGP has set up a task force to investigate this matter. The ministers at the commission tell us that individuals who have been identified as one who were committing assault, assaulting an MP, have actually not been arrested.
Walking free.
How does all of that, you know, worry you about what has happened?
You see, in ordinary intelligence and security balance, when you commission an operation, you have a commander. After that, he gives you a report. And then you analyze the report. You look at what went on well, what did not go on well, and then you move to the next stage of the operation. From what I heard and what I saw, it does not seem to me that there is even a report on these operations to the National Security Minister. 2, it also seems to me still about the gap and the weaknesses. Because the National Security Minister will come and say this, police will say this, and we even heard that, look, you picked the intelligence, you went there, they arrested 9 of the people there. You took the 9 to East Legon police station. When you took them there, what kind of statement did you give to the police? That has not come out. And then the police also received them as people arrested by national security operatives. What kinds of statement did they request from the people? That has not come out.
And at the time, he did not have the presence of mind to treat this as urgent and serious. He had to go and cast his ballot. He told the commission, I needed to go and vote. So I didn't pay attention to it.
He should not have said that. That exposes him.
That was the truth.
That was the truth. You see, that was the
system.
truth. But unfortunately, it exposes our security system. As a commander, they have reported this matter to you. People are fighting, people are dying. They say you want to go and cast your vote before you deal with the issue.
He says that is equally important.
That is why security services have special voting.
After all, he had been sidelined, and only when problem came, they asked him to go.
That's why they have special. That's why I'm saying this exposes our whole system.
If you talk to police officers, and I have officers from different places in Accra, and they will tell you that on the day of the elections, men were dispatched from here. So there were, I don't know how in police terms they call it, like you have to contribute troops or men from the different stations. And there's one police, district headquarters where they said, we sent about 12 people in there, into the constituency. So there were enough police officers there. Now, if you talk to police officers, you get the impression that they are quite angry about how they were treated in the midst of all this. And how people tried to use the police as a cover-up. Because it is imagined that, for example, Kandapa said the 60 people, 25 of them were police officers and 35 of them were, you know, the national security operatives. But from the account of the police so far, you don't get the impression that indeed there were police officers there. I spoke to a senior police officer and he basically said, now police America. You know, if you look at how they were just running around chasing people and so on, which police officers would do that? You know. So I think that I'm not surprised that the Interior Minister says what he said. The IGP, you know, we even though I don't think he's testified yet. It's not. Okay, but the Interior Minister says, the IGP says he didn't know them. He didn't know about it. The Director of Operations from the police says, no, I don't know the men.
The local police chief.
For me, if you look at the account of the police, it appears to be consistent so far. You know, from the East Legon commander to the Director of Operations to the Interior Minister, we are yet to hear from the police.
But Doc, you were speaking, and I was trying to find out from you whether you thought that there was a serious commitment to dealing with the issue, if up to this point, the security, I won't say the police, have identified people who committed crimes. I mean, it's the whole world is aware of it, and nothing has happened to them.
I'm surprised. You know, the IGP said he set up a committee, or a task force to investigate before this commission came up. I want to believe that we did not prioritize it at all. We did not prioritize the agency and the seriousness of the matter until the commission was set up. So yes, the commission is a godsend. And when you look at the terms of reference of the commission, if indeed they are going to deliver on it, the 1 month is too short anyway to deliver on their mandate. Because if they are to make a faithful, impartial inquiry into the circumstances and identify persons and then also submit within 1 month a report to the president, giving reasons for each findings and recommendation, 1 month is not enough. But I think it's a very good step. We downplayed it.
But they started rather fast.
They've started rather fast and it's good, except that the evidence that is coming up, the issues that are coming up, would help them to go deep into it.
Okay.
This issue of gunshots and that of the national security men did not hurt anybody and all of that, they need somebody to go deep into the matter. And it's something that can easily be uncovered. It's something that can easily be uncovered if we really want to get to the bottom of this matter.
But that's the issue. You see, Samson, you're asking, do you think there's sincerity? It doesn't look like that. That's what I'm saying. Many people have walked to me and expressed how despondent they are because they don't think the state wants to do it. Then again, note, there have been provable untruths spoken at the commission. Provable. By very senior people who we all respect.
Well, they are speaking under oath anyway.
And speaking under oath. And they don't seem to appreciate what that means. What we are saying here is that this to them may be one by-election. But we are seeing a total collapse of our security system. And we don't know what that means for our future. And when you go there and you speak things which are provable untruths, it shows that you're not taking this thing seriously. The nature of this commission in law...
Or maybe the commission is speaking to the wrong people so far.
Well, you cannot be speaking to the wrong persons when you're speaking to the Minister of National Security and another minister in the office of the...
They were not on the ground.
But they are the persons in charge, the principle of ultimate responsibility. And they are not abdicating that responsibility.
Some of them
they are taking responsibility.
They kept
and then they are saying
that
things...
I've been told.
Yes, but that's what we were saying. We were saying that when you say you've been told, look, somebody messed up in Iraq. A Secretary of Defense in Washington resigned. Okay? If you have a situation like this where there's a domino failure of the system, my uncle Kandapa will really be under trouble, in trouble. So what I'm saying is that they have not abdicated their responsibility. It's been 2 weeks down the line. By now, look, some of the bullets that were shot are in the hands of NDC because they picked them. What has been done? The gentleman on the video seen assaulting somebody. You saw people kicking people. It doesn't look like they want to get to the bottom of this.
The Minister of State says that he's been isolated for discipline. Is that what he said? Hopefully for some discipline.
So we are pleading that they take this seriously. Look, the commission in law, when you go and speak the truth there, etc., your testimony cannot be used against you.
That's the thing.
But if you go and tell lies, if you go and say things which are not true,
that's criminal.
Somebody should be made to answer because all of us are at risk. They should take it seriously.
There's something that we need to get clear or clarify here. The functions of the Minister for National Security and the functions of the National Security Coordinator and the functions of the Minister of State in charge of national security must be properly clarified. The executive instrument that sets up the Ministry of National Security must indicate in clear terms the functions of the Minister for National Security.
Only one of them is specified in law. The others are creations of the executive.
So that's what I'm saying, that if we were to allow the National Security Coordinator, whose functions are clearly stated in law, both in the Constitution and the Security and Intelligence Act, we wouldn't have been where we are
So
today.
we have the functions of the properly constituted legal office.
That is it.
And then there are others that have been created.
For
Those
the-
who created them
That's right.
must define what they have to do.
For the purpose of our show and for the purpose of listeners, Samson, permit me to re-echo the functions of the National Security Coordinator under Section 19 of the Securities and Intelligence Act. It includes to coordinate on a day-to-day basis the activities of the national, regional, and district security councils, and then to collate and evaluate intelligence reports relating to intelligence system in Ghana, to determine in consultation with the directors of the intelligence agencies the manpower level requirement of the intelligence agencies, and to assist relevant intelligence agency to gather defense intelligence, both internal and external, and use the information to detect and prevent, emphasis on prevent, threats to national security and to perform such other functions relating to security issues in Ghana.
Do we know who the National Security Coordinator is?
That's it. You see,
Who knows?
My belief is that, but for the setting up of this commission, this whole incident would have gone as usual. You know, we would just be talking about it.
Okay. So I'm saying it's a restoration of the
So
state.
in fact, I think there's some commitment to do something. But for me, I think that we need to make clear here that the police needs to do its work while the commission is also doing its work. And again, because people who appear before the commission, you know, whatever they say cannot be used on a basis of prosecution. Yes, if they speak the truth. That's the more reason why that the people who have been clearly identified and those who are identifiable, there must be some action around them almost immediately.
Okay.
We don't want for that. We don't want to have a situation where all the legal reasons why they cannot be prosecuted or come up. This is the time.
So as we know, they may not be prosecuted on the evidence they give or the testimony they give at the commission, but a separate investigation can gather information that can lead to they being prosecuted.
Yes,
but the commission, we can hope, will do a good job. According to the general law, CI 65, that is Commission of Inquiry, Practice and Procedure Rules 2010, they have a lot of powers. Powers of the High Court, powers of police, among others, to conduct searches, to insist that certain disclosures are made. And if they invite you, you don't go, you could even end up in jail for refusing to honor their summons and so on and so forth. So we can hope that they will do a good job. We'll take a break here. We'll return to look at one other aspect briefly of the Ayawaso by-election situation, particularly in Bawaleshi. John Mahama has been speaking on the matter, and Yao Osafumafo, Senior Minister, has also been speaking. We'll be right back to check the two of them, who is more patriotic.